Femi and Ade were born in the small town of Ilaro, a quiet place in Oyo State, Nigeria. Their houses were next to each other, and from the time they were babies, they grew up side by side. Both boys played together, ran through the fields, and helped their mothers fetch water from the stream. Everyone in the town loved their bond. People often said, "These two boys are like brothers." As they grew older, Femi and Ade did everything together. They would climb trees to pluck mangoes, play football with other kids, and go to the same school. No one could imagine them being apart. They trusted each other with everything and never kept secrets. The whole town admired their friendship. One day, a new family moved to Ilaro. They brought with them a young girl named Funmi. Funmi had bright, sparkling eyes and a smile that could light up the darkest room. When Femi and Ade first saw her, they were amazed by how beautiful and friendly she was. Funmi quickly became friends with Femi and Ade. The three of them started spending time together, playing, laughing, and sharing stories. But as time went on, Femi and Ade began to feel something they had never felt before. Both of them liked Funmi, and each wanted to be closer to her than the other. Before long, Femi and Ade found themselves competing for Funmi's attention. Femi would bring her sweet oranges from the market, while Ade would carve beautiful wooden toys for her. The once inseparable friends began to argue more often. Why does Funmi like him more than me? They each wondered silently. Their friendship, which had once been so strong, started to show signs of breaking. Neither Femi nor Ade wanted to lose, and their love for Funmi slowly turned into jealousy. One afternoon, as the three of them were playing by the river, Femi and Ade began to argue over who would sit next to Funmi. "I was here first," Femi said angrily. "No, I was. You're just trying to take my place," Ade shouted back. Funmi looked confused as she watched her two friends fight. She didn't want to choose between them, but Femi and Ade were too busy arguing to notice. That was the first time they raised their voices at each other, and it wouldn't be the last. As the days passed, Femi and Ade stopped spending time together like they used to. Femi would go to Funmi's house early in the morning, hoping to see her before Ade arrived. Ade, on the other hand, tried to impress Funmi with gifts and stories about his bravery. The friendship between Femi and Ade continued to weaken. Neither of them wanted to admit it, but jealousy had taken root in their hearts. They were no longer thinking about their friendship, only about who could win Funmi's love. Funmi noticed the tension between Femi and Ade, and it made her sad. She missed the days when the three of them would laugh and play together without any problems. She tried to bring them back together, but every time she did, the boys would find a reason to argue. Funmi didn't understand why Femi and Ade were acting this way. She cared about both of them, but their jealousy made it hard for her to enjoy their company. She wished things could go back to the way they were before. One day, the tension between Femi and Ade reached its peak. As they were walking with Funmi, Ade accused Femi of lying about something he had said to her. Femi, angry and hurt, pushed Ade, and soon the two friends were fighting. The people of Ilaro, who had always admired Femi and Ade's friendship, were shocked. They couldn't believe that the two boys who had been like brothers were now fighting in the streets. Funmi stood nearby, tears in her eyes, as she watched the boys she cared about tear each other apart. After their fight, Femi and Ade stopped speaking to each other completely. They avoided each other at school, and when they saw each other in town, they would turn the other way. Their friendship, which had once been so strong, was now completely broken. Everyone in Ilaro was saddened by the change. How could two boys who were like brothers let something like this happen? The townspeople asked. But Femi and Ade were too hurt and too angry to fix what had been broken. Funmi felt terrible about what had happened between Femi and Ade. She knew she had to do something to make things right, but she didn't know how. One day, she decided to talk to both boys. "I care about both of you," she said, "but I can't stand to see you fighting. I wish you would remember the friendship you had before all of this." But neither Femi nor Ade wanted to listen. They were both too proud to admit they had been wrong, and their jealousy of each other continued to grow. As time passed, Femi and Ade found themselves feeling more alone than ever before. Without each other, life didn't feel as bright or as fun. They missed the days when they would run through the fields, laugh, and share stories, but neither of them wanted to be the first to apologize. They both thought, maybe the other one will come to me. But that day never came, and the pain of their separation continued to grow. The people of Ilaro were worried about Femi and Ade. The boys had always been an example of friendship for the town, and now they were bitter enemies. The town elders, who had watched the boys grow up, tried to speak to them about the importance of forgiveness, but the boys refused to listen. Let them sort it out on their own, some people said, but others believed that something needed to be done before it was too late. One evening, Funmi went to visit Femi. She sat down with him and said, "Do you remember the days when you and Ade were best friends? I miss those days, don't you?" Femi sighed. "I miss them too, but things have changed. Ade isn't the same anymore." Funmi shook her head. "Neither of you is the same, but if you both hold on to this anger, you'll lose something much more important than me. You'll lose your friendship forever." Meanwhile, Ade was sitting at home, thinking about his friendship with Femi. He missed the laughter, the fun, and the trust they had shared, but his pride kept him from reaching out. If Femi apologizes, maybe I'll forgive him, Ade thought to himself. Deep down, Ade knew that their friendship was more valuable than their fight over Funmi, but he wasn't sure how to fix things. Femi and Ade continued to live their lives separately, but it was clear to everyone that they were not happy. Both boys struggled with their feelings, but neither wanted to take the first step towards making things right. The days of laughter and joy seemed far away, and the pain of their broken friendship weighed heavily on both of them. The town elders decided that they couldn't let Femi and Ade's friendship fall apart any further. They came up with a plan to bring the boys back together. "We must remind them of the bond they shared," one elder said. "They've forgotten how important their friendship is." The elders began to speak to both boys separately, hoping to plant seeds of forgiveness in their hearts. One day, the elders called Femi and Ade to the village square. "We have a challenge for you both," one elder said. "You must work together to solve a problem that only the two of you can fix." Femi and Ade were hesitant at first, but they couldn't refuse the elders. The challenge was simple. The boys had to build a new well for the village. It was a task that required teamwork, something they hadn't practiced in a long time. As Femi and Ade began working on the well, the silence between them was heavy. Neither of them spoke much, but they both knew that the task would be impossible without cooperation. Slowly, they began to communicate, sharing ideas and dividing the work. At first, the tension was still there, but as the hours passed, the memories of their friendship started to surface. They remembered how well they worked together, and for the first time in a long time, they began to laugh. By the time the well was completed, Femi and Ade realized that they had taken the first step towards fixing their broken friendship. It wasn't easy, and there was still much to be said, but the wall of anger between them had started to crumble. As they stood by the finished well, both boys felt a sense of pride, not just in their work, but in the small steps they had taken towards forgiveness. When Funmi heard about the well, she was surprised and happy. She visited the boys and saw that they were talking and laughing again, just like they used to. "I knew you two couldn't stay mad at each other forever," she said with a smile. Femi and Ade exchanged sheepish glances. They weren't ready to fully reconcile yet, but they both knew that they were on the right path. One day, after weeks of slowly rebuilding their friendship, Femi and Ade sat down to talk. "I'm sorry," Femi said quietly. "I let my jealousy get in the way of our friendship." Ade nodded. "I'm sorry too. I was too proud to admit that I was wrong." For the first time since their fight, the boys felt a sense of peace. They had finally said the words that had been weighing on their hearts. Although Femi and Ade had apologized, it took time to fully rebuild the trust they once had. They began spending time together again, but there were still moments of awkwardness and hesitation. However, both boys were committed to making things right. As the weeks passed, Femi and Ade's friendship grew stronger. They learned to let go of their jealousy and focus on what really mattered, each other. They realized that no one, not even Funmi, was worth losing their bond over. Funmi remained their friend, but she made it clear that she cared for both of them equally. She was happy to see the boys together again, and the three of them resumed their days of laughter and fun. The people of Ilaro were overjoyed to see Femi and Ade together again. The elders were proud of the boys for working through their differences and finding their way back to each other. "Friendship is stronger than any disagreement," they reminded the boys. Femi and Ade now understood the wisdom in those words. One day, a traveler came to the town, bringing with him tales of distant lands and adventure. Femi and Ade were eager to hear his stories, and they both dreamed of one day exploring the world together. The traveler told them of challenges and trials, but he also spoke of the importance of friendship. No journey is too hard if you have a true friend by your side, he said. His words reminded Femi and Ade of the strength of their bond. Femi and Ade realized that their friendship was stronger than ever. They knew that they would face challenges in the future, but they were determined to face them together. As time went on, the town of Ilaro prepared for its annual Festival of Unity. It was a time when people came together to celebrate friendship, family, and community. This year, Femi and Ade were chosen to lead the festival, a sign that the town had fully forgiven and embraced them once again. The boys were honored and excited. They planned games, prepared songs, and even helped the elders with the decorations. For the first time in a long while, they felt the joy of being together without any tension between them. Funmi was also given an important role in the festival. She was asked to represent the spirit of unity, a role usually given to someone who embodied the values of peace and friendship. Funmi graciously accepted the honor, knowing that she had played a part in bringing Femi and Ade back together. As the day of the festival approached, the three friends worked closely, laughing and sharing memories. It felt as though the dark days of jealousy and fighting had never happened. Just as everything seemed perfect, a challenge arose. Another boy in the village, named Sei, who had always envied Femi and Ade's friendship, spread a rumor that Funmi liked him more than both of them. He hoped to create tension between the boys again. When Femi and Ade heard the rumor, they were surprised, but this time they didn't let it affect them. Instead, they laughed and said, "Sei can say what he wants. Our friendship is stronger than that." Sei's rumor could have torn Femi and Ade apart once again, but the boys had grown wiser. Instead of letting jealousy get in the way, they both realized how much they had matured. They had learned that no one's affection could replace the value of their friendship. This time, they didn't need anyone to remind them of what truly mattered. They had learned from their past mistakes, and they were determined not to fall into the same trap again. Funmi, noticing what Sei had tried to do, confronted him. "Friendship isn't a game, and trying to break people apart isn't right," she said. Sei, embarrassed, apologized and realized that causing harm to others wouldn't bring him happiness. Femi, Ade, and Funmi showed that forgiveness and unity were far more powerful than rumors and jealousy. The Festival of Unity finally arrived. The whole town gathered in the village square, decorated with bright colors and music filling the air. Femi and Ade, leading the event, couldn't stop smiling as they watched everyone enjoy the day. Funmi, dressed in a beautiful gown, gave a speech about the importance of friendship and how it can overcome any challenge. The townspeople clapped and cheered, knowing that the bond between Femi and Ade was the perfect example of what she was talking about. During the festival, the elders had a special surprise for Femi and Ade. They presented the boys with matching bracelets made of cowrie shells, symbolizing the strength and beauty of their friendship. These bracelets will remind you both that true friendship is like a circle. It has no end, the elders said. Femi and Ade, touched by the gesture, promised to always cherish their bond. Later that night, as the festival came to an end, Femi and Ade sat together under the stars. "We've been through a lot," Ade said quietly. "Yes, but I think it made us stronger," Femi replied. They both agreed that their friendship was something special, something worth fighting for. They realized that no matter what happened in life, as long as they had each other, they could face any challenge. After the festival, life in Ilaro returned to normal. Femi and Ade went back to their usual routines, helping their families and enjoying their time together. Funmi remained a close friend, and the three of them continued to spend time together. But now there was no tension or competition between the boys. They had learned to appreciate their friendship for what it was, a gift that should never be taken for granted. One day, Femi and Ade heard about a nearby town that was having a wrestling competition. Excited by the idea of an adventure, they decided to join the competition together. They trained hard, supporting and encouraging each other every step of the way. The boys had always been competitive, but now their rivalry was friendly. They wanted to see each other succeed and knew that, win or lose, their friendship would remain intact. When the day of the wrestling competition arrived, Femi and Ade were ready. They were up against strong opponents, but they didn't let that discourage them. In the end, Ade won the match, but Femi wasn't upset. He hugged his friend and said, "You deserved it." The boys had learned that supporting each other was more important than winning. They left the competition with smiles on their faces and a stronger bond than ever before. A few weeks later, Funmi's family announced that they were moving to another town. Femi and Ade were sad to see her go, but they knew that their friendship would last, no matter the distance. On the day of her departure, Funmi gave both boys a small gift, a piece of fabric with the word unity embroidered on it. "Remember what we've all been through," Funmi said, "and remember that true friendship never fades." Femi and Ade waved goodbye as Funmi's family left Ilaro. Although they were sad to see her go, they felt at peace. They knew that Funmi's departure wouldn't change the bond they had built. They would always be friends, no matter where life took them. As the years went by, Femi and Ade grew older. They both found new interests and pursued different paths, but their friendship remained the foundation of their lives. They still shared their dreams, laughed at old memories, and supported each other through challenges. They realized that true friendship isn't about being exactly the same or doing everything together. It's about being there for each other, no matter what. One day, Femi faced a difficult problem in his family. His father had fallen ill, and Femi was struggling to take care of him. Without hesitation, Ade stepped in to help, showing that their bond was more than just words. He was there when Femi needed him most, just as Femi had always been there for him. This test of loyalty strengthened their friendship even more. As they reflected on their journey, Femi and Ade both agreed that forgiveness had been the key to saving their friendship. They had learned that holding on to anger and jealousy only caused pain, but forgiving each other had allowed them to grow stronger. They promised to always keep forgiveness at the heart of their friendship. As the years passed, Femi and Ade met new people and made new friends, but none of these friendships ever replaced the special bond they shared. They welcomed new friends into their lives with open hearts, but they never forgot the lessons they had learned from each other. They realized that true friendship could grow and expand, but it would never lose its roots. One day, many years after Funmi had left, Sei returned to Ilaro. He had grown older and wiser, and he apologized for the trouble he had caused in the past. Femi and Ade accepted his apology without hesitation, showing that they had truly learned the value of forgiveness. They even invited Sei to join them in their adventures, proving that friendship had no limits. Femi and Ade's friendship continued to grow as they began to travel to other towns and villages. They took their love of adventure to new places, sharing their stories and meeting new people. Everywhere they went, people admired their bond. Their friendship became a symbol of hope and unity, inspiring others to value their relationships. One day, to Femi and Ade's surprise, Funmi returned to Ilaro. She had grown into a wise and confident young woman, and she was excited to reunite with her old friends. The three of them spent hours catching up on all that had happened since they had last seen each other. It was as though no time had passed. Their friendship was still strong. Funmi had exciting news. She had been traveling and learning new skills. She wanted to open a school for children in Ilaro and asked Femi and Ade for their help. The boys were thrilled to support her and eagerly joined her in her mission. They realized that working together for a greater cause was another way to strengthen their friendship. Together, Femi, Ade, and Funmi worked hard to build the school. It was a project that brought the whole town together. And once again, Femi and Ade's friendship became a source of inspiration for others. The school became a symbol of hope, and the children who attended learned the values of friendship, unity, and forgiveness. As Femi, Ade, and Funmi looked at the school they had built, they felt proud of all they had accomplished. They knew that their friendship had created something lasting, something that would benefit future generations. The three friends realized that their bond had not only brought them joy, but it had also made a difference in their community. The journey of Femi and Ade taught them many valuable lessons. They learned that jealousy and competition could destroy even the strongest friendships, but forgiveness and understanding could heal any wound. Their story became a lesson for others in the village. True friendship is worth fighting for, and no disagreement is too big to overcome with love and kindness. As the years went by, Femi and Ade remained the best of friends. They continued to face life's challenges together, always remembering the lessons they had learned. Their friendship was a beacon of hope for others, showing that love, unity, and forgiveness could conquer any obstacle. And so, their story came to an end, not with a farewell, but with a promise that true friendship never fades, no matter what. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.